Hello and welcome to the Live Streamer Backstage podcast. I'm Alec Johnson and this is a weekly show where I interview fellow live streamers to understand how they're using live streaming as a tool in their business and to discover the tech, the gear and the software that they use to produce great live shows. My guest today is Ana Gil, a professional photographer, live streamer and host of Ecamm Network News and Building Blocks over on the Ecamm YouTube channel. Anna also hosts, produces and directs a video podcast network called Officially Unofficial that features interviews on a variety of topics such as leadership, relationships and entertainment, all with a focus on mental health. Now, we've talked before on the podcast with previous guests about putting on live, hybrid and virtual events and the challenges involved in engaging with online viewers and making those watching at home during or after the event feel included. Well, a great way to do that is to include live coverage of the event in addition to the event itself, by which I mean not just a live stream of the speaker sessions, but rather more of a behind-the-scenes stream, including interviews with the speakers, reactions from attendees, and general coverage, allowing those at home to really feel a part of the event. This is something that Anna is great at. If you saw any of the coverage from People of Video this year, which was sponsored by Ecamm, then you'll know what I'm talking about. The behind-the-scenes streams that Anna and Fulgens hosted really did capture the buzz and excitement of the event and made folks like me on the other side of the world really feel included. It's no surprise that this works so well because Officially Unofficial is also known for being the go-to behind-the-scenes production team covering some of the most popular events in their area. So this is certainly something that Anna is very experienced in. I'd love to hear more about what it takes to provide great coverage of a live event in this way. And so without further ado, let's welcome Ana Gil. Hey, Anna, great to see you.
Oh my gosh, that was a great introduction, Alec.
Thanks so much for being here. Really great to chat with you. As we were saying just before, it's amazing that I feel like I've known you for ages, but it's the first time we've actually spoken face to face with all of the times I've seen you in Ecamm and so on. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. And it feels like, that's what we say when we meet in person. We're like, hi, how are you? And it's like an extension of the live streaming, right? Mm-hmm. An extension of the online friendship. It's just out in the real world. And it feels like we've known each other forever.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the same for a lot of people who are watching and listening to this. If they're anything involved in the Ecamm community, they can't help but to have seen your smiling face and infectious laughter on Ecamm Network News and so on. But just for those who are maybe listening and don't know who you are, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your sort of background and how that sort of led into live streaming as well.
Yes, so I am a headshot photographer and I also photograph events and high school seniors. And on the other end, I am a video producer. And the way that I came into the live streaming world was in 2020. When all of us just went virtual. So I used to do, like Alex mentioned, we used to do behind the scenes for events happening in the community. So organizations who have an event, especially non-for-profit organizations, will hire us to go and cover and promote their events. We will pre-record it and then we post it online. And then when Facebook started with their, their lives, then we started doing that as well. The quality wasn't that great back then, but now it's really good and it really, really has picked up. And then obviously live streaming, when 2020 happened, that's when I started actually live streaming. And that's when I got Ecamm Live and etc. The rest is history.
And so were you also doing live streaming for other people then? Were you doing some like live streamed events where previously they would have been sort of in person? Is that something else that you were...
Yes. So we were for live stream until when the pandemic happened, we were doing that. We were doing the live streaming when in 2020, in 2021. Oh my gosh, the years just blend in.
Yep.
I believe it was in 2021, we did a live streaming for an event that was usually in person. And then now we just did it virtually. So that was in 2021. In 2022, we did some behind the scenes for some events and then also in person. So we had a hybrid. So we had some for the live viewers, and then some for the event itself. Mm-hmm. So it was hybrid.
Cool, cool. And how did you find obviously you got a long background in photography. How did you find the sort of transition from still photography into video? And I know that was obviously pre the live streaming, but how did you find that sort of transition?
I don't, that's a great question, Alec. But in my opinion, I feel like it's the same,
Right.
because you're still capturing moments.
Hmm.
One is still and the other one is movement, but it's still the same. You're still capturing moments. You're still creating an emotion, and evoking emotions in your people and your subjects, right? So I feel it's the same. It's really, yeah. I feel like it's the same,
Cool.
in my opinion.
Cool, cool. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's just that there is always another set of skills required though to be on camera, I guess. But you're obviously a natural, so and
Yes, I do like doing it. I do enjoy it a lot.
and perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about the shows that you do for Ecamm. So there's Building Blocks and Ecamm Network News. How did those two things come about?
Oh my gosh, that's another blur, Alex. That's another blur. It was the community. First of all, for those of you who are not familiar with Ecamm Live and the Ecamm Live community, Ecamm Live is, well, the software that we're using right now to live stream this incredible um, video podcast. And then you can also use the audio and then transfer it to being a podcast. So we have an amazing community of live streamers, producers, authors, you name it, who live stream. And in there, 2020 just went in. We just went in there. I wasn't familiar with live streaming. I went in, I met a whole bunch of like-minded individuals who were trying to do the same thing, and we all learned together. So with my partner Fulgence, when we met, we both had the same interest. So we both wanted to do news show. And then we will, Fulgence had a little bit more of a background on visuals and designing. And I had a little bit more of a background on content creation and things like that. So when that got together, it was like, okay, so let's design. And then we went live in the community with design. They saw us, they saw what we liked. It was something new that no one in the community had actually played with. So that was a great addition to the Ecamm live community and to Ecamm itself. And so then that started. And then the ENN went afterwards because we wanted to show all of these designs that we were creating, which are incredible design inside of Ecamm. And then we wanted to actually apply it. But it would have been a super long show if we were to do that. So then ENN was born, which is Ecamm Network News. And then we were able to put it all together. So we design and building blocks. We show you how to create amazing graphics using Ecamm Live for your productions. And then on ENN, we show you how it actually looks in a production. And then we get to play around with that. So that's kind of how it got started.
Well, the thing about Building Blocks as well, just to add on to that, is because Ecamm's got some great sort of design features built in. You can do great layouts and all that kind of stuff. But actually, that's not what we're talking about here with Building Blocks so much. It's the really creative ways that you were using, text overlays and things like that to, use different aspects of the text overlay to create an image and transparency. You were doing some really amazing stuff. So I just want to make that clear. It's not just about sort of designing, layouts in Ecamm. It's actually been really creative about the way that you were doing stuff. I've just loved. I've never really made videos about that stuff. I always just say, if you want to know more about how to do this, go and see Ana and Fulgence because you've just got it nailed. It's amazing.
I kind of downplayed it, but thank you, Alec, for mentioning that. But yes, it's just incredible how you can create because if you think about it, designs are lines and shapes, right? So as long as you have lines and shapes and text, then you can create incredible things. So at that point, it's just your imagination and finding ways to make it work. And one of the things with Ecamm is that it makes you do just that. You need to actually be super it just makes you think of different ways that you can accomplish specific design.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's all with text overlays.
Yeah,
I
and
love it.
it's been a real sort of inspiration, I think, to a lot of people in the community. I'm thinking about, there's too many names to mention more really, but people like, I know DJ Rob came up with some great designs from it, and Martin McKenna as well has been doing some great things, and a lot of people have been inspired by what you've done to think more creatively and think out of the box with how to do stuff. So it's been a real, great addition to the community to have that in there.
Yeah, thank you.
And
It's
I
nice
think
to hear. Yeah.
I think that ENN as well has been great because it's shown people like how to, as you said, it was to demonstrate what you can do, but it's been a great sort of way for people to see, those kind of new shows or live coverage shows. It's kind of like almost like a model for those. So it's great additions to the
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. It's just that, like, building blocks, like you mentioned, you create your design, you make it, and then and on ENN, you get to see it. Or for example, for building blocks, you learn how to do that, and then bring it into your show, and off you go. It's gonna look amazing. Your shows look incredible with designing inside of Ecamm.
Yeah.
It's just like every time we see the sign, we're like, oh my gosh, we actually created this inside of Ecamm, which
Uh-huh.
is a great feeling.
Yeah, they look fantastic. I just want to take a moment to talk about Ecamm Live. This is the live production Mac software that we're using to live stream and record this podcast. In my opinion, it is the best live streaming and recording software on the market today. So what exactly does it do? Well, essentially, it allows you to control the content that you're including in your video, be it a live stream or a recorded video. And you do this by building out different scenes that contain the content that you want to show. This content may be a feed from your camera, or indeed multiple cameras, or you may be sharing a screen, which is what I do a lot of in my tutorial style videos that I make for my Take One Tech YouTube channel. You can share the screen from a second computer or maybe even a gaming console if you are a live streaming gamer. And just as we are doing in this podcast, you can also bring in guests using Ecamm Live's built-in interview mode, where guests can join from a browser and you can then incorporate their video and audio into your production. Finally, you can add all kinds of additional graphical and animated overlay elements and even movies to really add a level of branded professionalism that would be hard to achieve in any other way. The real magic happens though when you hit that record or go live button, because then you are able to seamlessly switch back and forth between all of the scenes that you've created. And indeed, this is how all of the videos have been created for my Take One Tech YouTube channel. And the reason it's called Take One Tech, by the way, is because all of the videos are made in one take with no edits. I just hit record, make the video, and as soon as I hit the end recording button, the file is there and ready to be uploaded straight to YouTube. What I love about Ecamm is not just the ease of use that it has when compared to other live streaming software, but also the greater flexibility it gives in terms of layouts and designs that you can create for your shows when compared to some of the hardware streaming solutions. And one thing that makes Ecamm great specifically for podcasts is the fact that it has the ability to record isolated audio tracks. So once we finish recording this podcast, I'll have a separate audio file for me, my guests, and any other audio tracks that have been a part of the recording. That makes the editing and repurposing of the content for the podcast so much more streamlined. It does have another little trick up its sleeve though, and that is its virtual camera feature. This allows you to take the video output from Ecamm Live straight into communication apps like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Discord, and so on. This means that rather than just appearing in Zoom meetings with a regular camera feed, you can now show up with all of the amazing production values that Ecamm Live gives you and deliver that straight into your Zoom meeting. And trust me, when you rock up to a Zoom meeting with Ecamm, the other participants will be truly amazed. So whether for live streaming, recorded video content, or to level up your Zoom game, I highly recommend you give Ecamm Live a go. You can get a free trial by going to takeonetech.io/ecamm. That's ECAMM. takeonetech.io/ecamm. And of course, you can find a link to that in the show notes as well. You will certainly not regret giving it a go. Now let's get back to the show. Perhaps we can talk about some of the coverage you've done as well, because it kind of follows on from ENN, really. The sort of, that sort of theme. I talked about the coverage you did of People of Video this year and last year as well, and I know you've covered other, Ecamm events. So how do you find doing those sorts of things where you're trying to? I mentioned it in the intro. You are a really sort of engaging person. You really have a high energy. You bring a high energy to things that you do. So it does, automatically just boost people's engagement and energy levels with the live streams you do. How do you find covering events like this and keeping that energy up and making people feel a part of it?
Yeah. Is in person, it's even more energetic. Like I usually find myself, because I get my energy from people.
Hmm.
And when people are at events, or even at, people video, as you mentioned, they're all there, happy, ready to learn and all of that. And it's like they're recharging me every time someone comes
Right.
in, right? And then someone new comes in and I'm like, and then so it's actually easier to keep the energy up when during a live event for me than it is on live streaming, right?
Hmm.
So live streaming, I can be live streaming an hour and a half, tops two. After that, if there's no people around me and stuff like that,
Right.
my energy really, really starts declining.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
So I
how?
actually love, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, it's okay. Hmm.
No, I actually love doing live events. Absolutely love it.
Uh-huh. And how? What are some of the ways then that you think for other people who are looking to do something like this? What are some of the ways that you can cover a live event? So what are some of the things that you do? Obviously, you can interview people there that are attendees, but what are some of the other things that you would normally do at this kind of live coverage?
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, you have to keep, like, depending on what type of event it is and how long it is, you have to, plan it out and see what kind of things around the event your live viewers and your real live viewers are going to be interested in. So, if you're involving your live viewers in and say, hey, this is what's happening, this is what's going on, and you actually bring them in and have them do something. So, you give them a job to do, whatever it is, and they feel included, they will give you that same energy, right? And then you will be able to bring it to online, right? So you are doing both. You're entertaining the in real life as well as the viewer. And at that point, sometimes it's even better because you get to ping pong your energy, between each other.
Hmm.
So that I would say, just make sure, get familiar with what the event is. Really be friends with the event coordinator, and then also get to know the surroundings and get to know the people who work at the facility that you're going to be at, because you don't know what you're going to need. You don't know what you might need, and they will be there for you if you already kind of made friends with them. So that way you can keep everything, because believe it or not, we were people of video, and it was really bright. It was right during the day, and the sun is just beating on us, and
Hmm.
it was live. We're like, oh my gosh. So the friend that we made wasn't there that day. He promised us that he was going to put a diffuser on top of this lattice thing,
Hmm.
and he wasn't there. So we went and we asked the next person, and the next person was like, no, we're not gonna do that. And we're like, yeah, but so and so, no, we're not gonna do that. And we're like, oh my gosh, who else do we have? So at that point, we have to pull up a lot of strings and like really talk to this person. And it kind of brought the energy down a little bit, because it's something that is additional. You were not expecting
Yes. Yeah.
that. So just make sure that you have a couple of friends in there, and because it will affect your event and your energy to give to your viewers as well as to your real life audience.
Yeah. Always have friends in the facilities department.
On all of them, all the events, you have to. You definitely have to.
And that's interesting as well, because it's one of those things there specifically with the sun. It might be something where you go and check out the location in advance, but then, the sun moves, it turns out. So, things like that you might not notice first time around. So it's,
and actually, when we went to scope the facility, which is another thing that definitely you should do if you're doing an event, whatever it is, you go and check the facilities. That's one of the things we experienced, and we asked, hey, if this cannot happen, we're going to have to move to an alternate location. Can this happen? And then those persons said, yes, it could.
uh-huh.
So we set up, and then
And then they disappeared.
It was interesting. It was interesting. It made for a great behind the scenes, because he was there on top of a ladder. It was live, and yeah, it made for great footage. If we allow the viewers have fun watching that.
And what are some of the
Yeah.
other things you'd look for then, if when you do go and scope out an event location in advance? What are some of the things that you would do sort of prior to prepare for things like this?
Yeah, so you scope around, you see what if it's, for example, for us for live, we go in and then we say, okay, if it's indoors, do we have enough space to set up? Do we have enough space to for everything, camera, lights? Can they provide tables for us, chairs? Can they provide Ethernet, or do we have to bring our own Ethernet? Which we do every whenever we go to outdoor events, but if they have it and it's great, then we use theirs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that you should definitely look into, and scope out an alternate location just in case, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends on the venue itself. So if it's outdoors and it rains, what's going to happen? What's their second plan? Do they have a second plan for that, an alternate plan? And then if it's indoors, and you just make sure that they know where's the traffic going to come from, right? Is the traffic coming this way? Is the traffic coming that way? Where are the speakers going to be set up? Are we going to be on their way? Are we going to have to move after? So there are a lot of things that you have to think about that will help you out. And sometimes not even the event coordinator will know that at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But the more you know, and then the better you will be if events which will happen during your live stream. And then you know how to kind of think fast and move because you have already scoped out this venue.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there about the event organizer might not necessarily have an understanding of this because it might be something that's, out of the box, something different than they're maybe used to doing if they're just used to a traditional event. So what are some of the things then that they should be thinking about in terms of, having something like a live stream of the event, giving this sort of behind the scenes stuff? What are some things that they should be considering?
Yeah, the event coordinators?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So they definitely should be considering the traffic and where they want the production company to be,
mm-hmm.
and what footage do they want, what are they going to do with the footage, because that's really important, and that's something that as a producer you will ask those questions, but they also have to know, because that way it will be okay, they can talk about it, and then at that point just when it comes that might not work, or what if we do this and that, right? So ideas go back and forth, so you really need to know what is it that you're going to be using this footage for, and what is that where is the best spot to set up a production or a behind the scenes, because sometimes there's so many people and they might have thought that, oh yeah, this is fine, and then when the producer, asks questions about, okay, so where are they coming? So what is going to be over here? Oh, this is going to be a charcuterie board. Okay, food, right? Food. So you don't want to be around there because that's going to be crowded, right? And then it's like, oh, what's going to be over there? Oh, it's going to be a bar. Okay, so you don't want a bar either. So you want to actually be looking at that, in my opinion, right? You want to be looking at everything, but you want to be where the thing is happening so you can access people quickly if you're stationary.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, there are a lot of couple of things to when you're doing a live event, especially like the ones that we do.
Uh-huh. Yeah, lots of nuances there that people would maybe not think about if they've not
for sure.
Uh-huh. And you mentioned there about like repurposing, or how they're going to be using the content. So my experience of watching the Ecamm event, for example, was watching the live streams of it. But what are some of the other ways that of people repurposing this? Is it something that's made available after the fact, or is it something that's in addition? How do people go about using the content that you produce on the events?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, it all depends. For example, some customers use it to promote their event the following year.
Mm-hmm.
If that's something that they have, and then others use it to repurpose the content itself. When it comes to, say, people video, the interviews that we did with all of the speakers, then that gets packaged afterwards, and then all of the additional things that we did get edited, and then they just package into this specific course related to a topic that was covered, right? So that gets turned into a like mini virtual conference that they can use later.
Mm-hmm.
Right, for that. So that's one of the ways that for them that they can use that. Another, for example, for behind the scenes that we do a lot of, that is for their next event. And then also to say, we had so much fun. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at all the
Yep.
food we had. Look at all the people we had. Look at our Grace linens. It all depends. So like people get excited about different things. And this is something that you as a behind the scene producer, you can ask what is important to your viewers. What is it that you want to see? You want your viewers to see? What is important to them? And that's something then that you go on and then you go and you can ask if you're doing interviews as like a red carpet type.
Yep.
And you go asking them.
Uh-huh. The thing you mentioned about promoting future events, it's like it's always the the Ecamm stream of people of video, for example, where you see everyone having a great time there. That's what gives people the most FOMO, as opposed to seeing a speaker on the stage. So it definitely works in that respect.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed, because you're having fun there, and those are the behind the scenes that we really love to capture. Especially like me, I love to capture the activity and the fun, because that's what people miss, right? People miss all of that, especially after all these lockdown things that we had.
Uh-huh. And what are some of the other sort of ways to get engagement? I know you do things like giveaways and that kind of stuff on live streams sometimes, but you're always coming up with new ways to encourage that engagement as well. So what are some of your tips for doing that on live coverage, or just live in general, actually?
Yeah. So general coverage, we already know our audience, right? We know, so we have to know you have to know your audience to know what they're going to like. Mm-hmm. So that is the first step for engagement. Other than that, you just have fun. So you create games. You can do games, trivias. You can, we sometimes do on our waiting screens, we do video games and we play video games on our waiting screens. So giving them something different to look at that is not what they're used to, either on your channel or on somebody else's channel that you haven't seen that. So they will be like, what is this? And then they start engaging on that. So thinking out of the box and doing something different. We have conversations about current events, right? Topics, things that are current events that are relevant to the streaming community, mm-hmm. right? So we talk about that as well. And we ask and we inquire if they have experienced something like that and things like that. So that's another thing, and that is on live streaming. Mm-hmm. So when you come in person, and it's completely different. So in person, you're calling out somebody. So you're making eye contact, like, hey, can I kind of ask you this question? Yeah. And they're like, oh my gosh, don't look at me. And then you go like, right. And then you ask permission again by asking if you really think that person has something that is going to answer the way. Then you go ahead and ask by looking at them again. And then you say, what about you? Or who hasn't? This hasn't happened to anybody, has it? And then you start going like that. So it happened to you, and then you put it out there and ask everybody else, has that happened to you yet? And that's in person, right? Mm-hmm. So it is different, but those are different ways that you can engage. And you can do the same thing, engage them live and on a live stream and in real life. At that point, you're just looking at them and you're getting their feedback right away. Mm-hmm. So it's basically the same.
Yeah. It's always good when mm-hmm. you can actually see facial expressions rather than looking at a chat window. Yeah, much better idea.
100%. Yeah, 100%. How about you? Have you done any like live?
Not so much live,
like in real person.
Yeah, so I've done lots of public speaking on stages, but not live coverage of events. So I've been on the other side. But yeah. It's usually talking about something where I'm obviously talking about a subject that I know and sort of presenting on it almost. So it's different than sort of being a live stream where you're just dealing with minute to minute with reactions and things like that.
So how do you ask for permission when you're in person that you're going to ask somebody a question?
To be honest with you, in the sense where I would have had to have done that, I would have been, on a stage, and then, you're asking for people to give their permission just inherently by, people raising the hand or whatever it happens to be. So it's not so much of a an issue there. I've never really thought about that so much. It's
Yeah,
not
'cause
like
there's
it's
some
not like
people.
being at a live event where you're taking a microphone and basically, you've got to put it into someone's face and say, "Do you want to come on this live stream?" That is a bit of a different dynamic when somebody's on a stage versus somebody in the audience, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, for sure it is.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you do it so well though. So it looks great the way
Aw,
you do it.
thank you.
And what are
Thank
some
you.
of
Yeah,
the?
you have to
Sorry, go on.
know that when you go to an event, you kind of like not kind of like, but you do. You walk the room, you see people,
Hmm.
you greet them, you say hello before they even know what you're doing, right? You're just
Yeah.
saying hello, you're just getting to know them, and then people are curious and they come over. Oh, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? You doing this? You doing that? And then everybody starts talking, and by the time the event comes around, where you have to do live interviews, they already know you because they already seen you.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's just like, and they're like,
Yeah. They're happy to chat with a
all
familiar
of that.
face.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And what about from a sort of tech perspective? I mean, we've talked about, obviously making sure you've got a good internet connection, but in terms of, sort of the gear that you turn up with, what would be a typical sort of setup that you would turn up with for this kind of thing?
Yes. So I love my DJI Osmo. I just like look. That thing is one of the because I film a lot with my iPhone, a
Hmm.
lot of it, and the behind the scenes.
Hmm.
And then when we are interviewing, then we have our professional setup and all of that stuff. But for behind the scenes, I use my phone on DJI Osmo. I believe it's the 3, legit Osmo the 3, and my phone, and that's it. Sometimes I get lights, Movie Pro on it, and then that's it for behind the scenes. So if you go to officially unofficial and you check the behind the scenes, vertical, horizontal, whenever I'm saying behind the scenes, that is 80% on my iPhone.
That's
80%.
cool. And that's coming from a
Yeah.
photographer as well. So that's really
Yes,
cool to hear.
yes, and a lot of people don't think that because they when customers call me, they're like, okay, I want this behind the scene just like this,
Hmm.
and then I'm like, okay, but what are you gonna do with it? Like, what are you gonna do with it? Because that's really important if they're gonna use it for a commercial or things like that, or depending on their usage, you have to capture it on camera. You have to use a DSLR or a nicer camera.
Hmm.
But if they're just going to have it for social media and this is all on social,
Hmm.
all good. So for me, it's like, okay, good. And then I goes, yeah, that's with my iPhone. They go, what? I'm like, yeah, it's my iPhone. You have tricks. I have a lot of tricks for that footage to look good.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, yeah.
And what about the sort of the other tech gear that you take apart from apart from the phone? Like I noticed with Ecamm, they'd obviously got a whole booth set up with various different things in there. So what would that consist of?
Yes. So for people of video, we had Sony, which Fulgens actually will have the name of the Sony. I think his if he can just I will ask him right now. Fulgens, what was the name of your camera? Because that is his camera. My camera here, this is my setup, so I know the setup more. But when we go out on location, we use the Sony, and which he will tell me in a minute. He will probably put it in the comments. And we use either a 16 Sigma lens,
Uh-huh.
and we use a 2470 as well, depending on the angle that we're going to
Uh-huh.
capture. Obviously, we use the Rodecaster Pro. For the last one, we used the one. Yeah,
Right.
we have used the one for the last couple of them. And then we have what we called iPod lights, which is I would say I really want to say it's the Arlino's. Arlino, you can look it up now because you're on Amazon, Alex. So you can look it up. I think it's the Arlino iPad, Arlino lights. Fulgens, you can put it on the comments for us too. Yeah, so that's on location what we bring, and then what else we bring? The oh my gosh, the Stream Deck. We
Oh yeah.
definitely bring the Stream Deck for that as well. That is, when you are doing them, you have to have that.
Yep.
I mean, you don't have to, but will be really nice and will make your life really easy if you have a Stream Deck.
Yeah, Stream Deck's number one for me. before
real,
well, that and a microphone. It's like for any kind of video stuff. But yeah, Stream Deck's just a game changer.
Right. And then and speaking of microphone, we use for wireless the Rode Wireless Go, and then we use the oh my gosh, what is the mic? Is the oh my gosh, I forgot the name.
The Shure one. Oh right, Pentax.
Mm-hmm. No, it's not the Shure. It is the Pentax one. Yeah, the wireless. That's the one that we use, the version 1. And I believe that's the entire setup.
Mm-hmm. How do you find the Rode Wireless Goes? I've actually just ordered. It's not the Rode. It's a Small Rig have come out with a similar sort of wireless setup. So I've just ordered one of those. But how do you find the Rode?
Yeah, so the Rode is good. I do believe we're going to switch to the 2 because then you can use the microphones with just one receiver. You don't have to be messing around. At least that's what, Fulgence is telling me. Like, yeah, this is what we're going to do because this is why.
Right.
And then that way we don't have to mess around with the 2 receivers and giving it to the customers and micing them both and all of that.
Uh-huh.
So, but right now the Rode Wireless, they're good. Mm-hmm. They're good. I will say you can definitely have a great production. We just did a production today and we used them.
Oh, cool.
And they were great. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were really good.
And they also...
And we used a shotgun mic.
Right. And they also record onto the device as well, don't they? So you've got the backup of that. Is that right? With the Rode? Or maybe that's the Wireless Go 2. Maybe the 2s do that.
Probably is the 2 because right. I don't know. I think he sent me the links. Okay. He said he added it to the LinkedIn comments.
Cool. I'll check that up.
Yeah.
So Sony A7 III and the 24-70 for people of video. Got you. And Rilano video lights. Don't know if I'm pronouncing.
Yeah, Rilano. Okay, I was kind of close. I said, what did you say? I said Rilano, something like that. Yeah, but those lights. I really, really like those lights because we call it iPad light, but that's not, it's because of the size of it. So it's usually the size of an iPad.
Right.
And the light it produces is beautiful. It's just nice and soft, especially for us ladies. And then, guys, if you are producing for ladies, these lights are great for them. And they're small enough that you can, they're portable enough, bring them on location. We have 3 of them, but most of the time, especially for the people of video production, we only use 2.
Right.
And that was great. It was able to get us and get the entire group. We had a group at one point that was, oh my gosh, I think it was like 6 people with me.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, and it kind of surround the light was pretty good for that.
I think I was watching that one with Doc and Keeley and all of those were all in shot.
Yeah, those and that was at night. So you see how that was so those lights are great. There will be a great investment.
Yeah. I think there's a snapshot of that is now Doc's picture on his course that he's just launching as well. So it's a great picture with all of you in it.
Aww.
And so what are the other sort of things that when you're going to do events like this, obviously you're coming out of your studio, going to somewhere on site. What are some of the things that are not necessarily the main tech, like obviously the lights and cameras? You're not necessarily going to forget those, although I've forgotten major pieces of equipment
for sure.
But what are some of the small little things that, the ones that catch people out a lot that, you need to be make sure that you've, you take with you or the spare sort of things that you take to cover you for those things?
So I would say I bring a lot of sticky notes. The gaffer's tape.
Right.
Listen, just bring it. Even if you're not going to use it, you will end up using it, bring it. Extension cords, bring them, right? Extra light. Even if you think, oh, you know what? I did this before with 2 lights and it was great. Bring an extra light. Right? Mm-hmm. Just have a spare for you. And what does I say? Water. Just bring water because you gotta bring water. And that's also things that it's like, okay, you're gonna need it. Bring a snack as well. It doesn't matter because you're gonna get hungry, especially and you don't have time to actually eat. so you can just get a bar or something very quickly, and then you will be good. What else would I say to bring? That's not technical, you say, right?
Yeah.
Not technical.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
and like things like I'm always thinking of like Doc would bring his cables. He's got his little box with all his little connectors and things like that. But it's not necessarily the main things. It's always going to be a cable that breaks as opposed to the camera potentially. But those kind of things.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, just bring. Yeah, that's the thing. Like Doc has everything. He doesn't have a little bag. He has a big bag, and inside a big bag, he has little bags. So, and it's great. He has everything. He has everything you need. Oh, yeah, I have that. Everything you need. Okay, I have that. But if you're starting out and you just know your event, and for example, you had an event, and you're like, dang it, I wish I had X. Write it down and have X in your bag. Right. So then next time, oh my gosh, it would have been so cool if I had, write it down. Next time, put it in your bag. And that's how you build your arsenal of the things that you may possibly need. Right. Or like that.
And what's the sort of setup time for you when you get to an event? Like how long before do you normally leave to to actually get set up to account for these little things that might be going wrong?
Yeah, I would say an hour and a half. I would say an hour and a half. Give yourself enough time. Especially, but if you are alone, give yourself even more time. But for us, because you set up the equipment first, and then you have to test. And then when you test, there's something happens. Either the microphone is not working and you have to reconfigure things, or the monitor is not turning on. Something happens because you travel with your equipment. So give yourself enough time to set up your equipment, and then give yourself enough time to actually put the equipment together. Just get the show rolling, test everything, have everything on and all of that. So I would say for us, it typically takes between an hour and an hour and a half.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You obviously got it down to an art now.
Yeah, I mean, today we had a production, and I wouldn't say it was a small production because it was only three people, and it was at a very controlled environment, and it took us an hour and a half to set up. So yeah.
And what sort of event was that you were covering? Because we've talked a lot about Ecamm, but what are some of the other kinds of events that you cover?
Yeah, so for this one, it was a show for a customer, one of our clients. They now today was the premiere of their first show of a series of shows. So we are producing the show for them, and we went to her house and we set up everything. They don't have anything, so we are their production company. So they hired us, a production company, to produce their show. And then that's what we do. So we go over and we do all of that. So that was actually not an event. That was a show that we produced for someone.
Got you. Right. And how about, so we've talked about the off-site stuff, but how about in your own studio? I always like to get a sort of behind-the-scenes look. So I can pull up a picture of your setup, but perhaps you can talk us through a little bit about, what you've got going on in your studio and the equipment that you're using and how it's all set up.
Yes, that is my studio. So my beautiful two lights, which I adore, they are Impact 30 inches. So I have two of them, as you see it here. There's my beautiful Stream Deck. I have an iMac 19, and then I also have, so that's an iMac, an external monitor, and then I have my M1, which is just the best. I have this beautiful Lewitt mic that is an LT440. And what else do I have in there? I think you don't see it, but I have a Rodecaster Pro 2. And that's it.
One thing I love about that I've just noticed when
my gosh.
I was just going to mention about the desk. Is that a standing desk and it's got like drawers underneath it? Are they like what's going on there? They look like heavy duty tool drawers almost.
This is a Husky table. There's a whole story. Do you see the video of us getting that Husky table?
No, I haven't actually. I have not seen that one. No.
Listen, it was funny, but it was not funny at the same time because I was like, right, this is a big table. This is a big table, and I was like, Fulgens, does your Jeep fit this table? Yes, it does. I'm like, okay, so you sure? Yeah, 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 it can fit it. All right, cool. We went, got it, huge box.
Mhm.
And then I'm still asking, is this gonna fit in your Jeep? And he's like, yeah, 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 it will. And then we're taking the big box out, and a gentleman goes, does he need help putting that in the Jeep? Do you think it's gonna fit? And I'm like, he said yes. And I'm like, he says it's gonna fit. Anyway, Alec and you guys, it took a while between the two of them to put this box in. Like, there's some maneuvering that happened.
Mhm.
And then the seat was all the way up. I had to drive. He couldn't drive because he had to put the seat all the way to the front. And then I was driving like this.
Uh-huh.
We have that video in the community. It was funny.
I'll definitely
not
check
funny
that
at the same time.
out.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So is
Yeah.
that like
so
a
this table is a Husky.
right? So is that like camera gear sort of tool drawer type things that you use those for?
I have everything. I have my notebook, my planner, I have my white balance card, which, by the way, everybody, if you don't have a white balance card, they are the cheapest thing. And I want to say one is the most important thing because it just balances the color of your environment and your lighting and everything to make you look nice. So I have that in here. I have my notebooks, my pens. So it's like a accessory drawer, but it's pretty long.
I was just looking. It's massive, isn't it? They're massive.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I like it. They come without the drawers, but I was like, I need drawers. I need drawers in my life.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then the camera you were just mentioning. What camera are you using in there?
Yes. So my camera is a Nikon D750, and it has a 2470 2.8 lens in it. And it's a beautiful thing. I love it. I love Nikon.
I love the aesthetic of your setup. It looks nice and clean and just minimalist enough. Some people go too far with minimalism, but it's just nice and nice and tidy. I love that. I've got the Elgato Wave arm that you've got there as well. That's been a really solid thing for me as well. The Elgato Wave mic arm.
The arm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fulgens loves that thing. It's his. And when I was looking for we were trying to figure out a mic situation for me. He's like, here, you can use this arm because it's really nice and flexible and it will be out of your way. Mm-hmm. And when I touched it, it's very nice and sturdy.
It feels really solid.
It's very easy. Yeah. It's very easy to move. It's very easy to just maneuver. It's a really good arm.
And the mic there you mentioned is the Lewitt, but you were just talking before about another wireless mic. And how's that one been? The Shure Uniplex, is it the UL4?
Yeah, and the UL4 is. Go ahead.
Is that one that you're looking to use like in studio, a wireless mic for in studio, or is that more for sort of out in the field?
So it is. I want to use it for. It could be used for both, but I use it right now for the studio. And I really like being hands-free. And that allows me to do that and still produce great sound. The only thing for me is that sometimes I wear clothes that doesn't really sit well with. Like I will wear turtleneck and I'm like, okay. So I have to figure out ways where I could wear any outfit I want and still be able to, attach the lapel to my clothes. So that's something that I'm watching videos and seeing how multiple ways of using it. But that mic is is awesome. The proximity effect is just very nice. It's a very nice mic.
They do make good stuff, sure do, don't they?
They do. It's just very, very good. And they have it in black and I have it in tan and I believe white. I believe they have it in white. So they have 3 colors, I think. Yeah.
The one I mentioned that I've ordered is for the same sort of thing to use in the studio with wireless, because I'm starting to do some unboxings and product reviews for Amazon that are larger than fit on my desk, or at least that this is going to get in the way. So that was my reason for doing it. But I've got the same thing about lavalier mics, never really knowing the best way to use them or positioning and things like that. But actually, Tom Buck had a video that came out just yesterday as we record this, which was him saying basically the same thing. And he did a full sort of test of a series of lav mics and wireless systems. So I'll be watching more of Tom. He's always a go-to for these sorts of things as well. So that was a great video to check out as well.
Okay, I will definitely do that because yeah, I mean there's a system. There's a plan with using lapel mics, like lavs and making sure that they fit nicely and stay still and then still sound good.
Yes,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh. And what would you say is your sort of favorite bit of tech that you've got in your studio?
Oh my gosh. Alec. Um Jesus.
It's hard to pick, isn't it, with so many cool gadgets?
It is. I'm thinking like what would I do? Like everything is my favorite. I can't choose. I
It's
honestly, I mean, if it had to be with need or priority, I would say my camera.
right.
But it's like without my computer, I can't use. I like
Impossible
everything
decision.
is great. It's possible. Like
Yeah.
just don't
Uh-huh.
ask me what food can I give up
Right.
for Thanksgiving or whatever. That's easy. But equipment,
Yeah. Well, for me, I wouldn't want to live without any of it, but I just couldn't do without the Stream Deck. Now I've tried it because of the way that actually has filtered through every aspect of my my productivity, really, I suppose. But I love the Rodecaster. But I know it's a bit of a tough question to pick like one thing out of all of them.
It is exactly. It is the Stream Deck is once I had the Stream Deck app. And when I first started, and it was good, but then I realized, man, I need my phone because I want to check, and make sure that everything's good. And then I got the Stream Deck itself, the 15 key.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? This is the best. I mean, I was like, are you? So that was awesome. And then Doc sent me then he found out that I had the 15 and he's like, what? And he sent me the 32.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm like, I will never fill that thing. Listen, it got filled.
Within
the 32
hours, they get filled up, don't they?
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. But yes, but if you needed to start with something and you just wanted to try the Stream Deck, you could definitely just try the 15 key because it still gives you the functionality and it depends on how your application is.
Yeah.
So you have to think about that. But you can create different profiles. And if you have different shows or different things that you do, you create different profiles. And that is a way of extending your keys. And you can just add folders. And that is another way of extending your keys. But it's better to just not have to mess with clicking folders and going to another one. Because when you're on a live stream and you're clicking folders, all of a sudden the Stream Deck went back to the previous profile, the previous folder, and you're clicking something. Yeah.
I think it's a great advice there about trying out the mobile app, because that's what I did as well before I actually bought one. I thought, I'll give the mobile app a go and see. And I had it for like a day, I swear, before I went and just ordered the thing, because you do get to test out the functionality and sort of see how it works, try out the software. So yeah, trying out the mobile app is a great way to go. I always say as well, though, if you're sort of deciding whether to go with the 15 or 32, obviously there's budgetary considerations, but if you think you don't need any more than 6 keys or 15 keys, then I might just say that you may not have thought about all of the possibilities that could be open up to you once you get it. Because that was with me, I didn't necessarily think I was going to use all 32. And then, like same as you, once you get it, you realize there's so many other things you can do. And not having to flick between pages and stuff is certainly a benefit.
For sure. And then you can use it for other applications. You can just, instead of using keyboard shortcuts, which keyboard shortcuts are great, but you can also have keyboard shortcuts. You can have Stream Deck buttons for other apps. So it just makes your life a little bit easier once you have a system going on.
Oh yeah, totally. I use it with Keyboard Maestro is the automation app I use on Mac, and linking that with Stream Deck just turns it into, the ultimate power tool, really, for productivity on the Mac. I also always like to get a book recommendation or ask what you're reading. And you mentioned one that I'd not heard of before called She Sells. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about that book and what the book's about and what you've learned from it.
Yeah, I mean, She Sells is a book by Megan DePiero, and she's actually an Ecamm Life user.
Oh, really?
And
cool.
Yeah, I just found out the other day when she was doing a live about the book, and I'm like, wait, that's Ecamm. And they're like, we're testing it out, we're testing the comments, and I'm like, hello. That's it. And they're like, oh, we have a comment from Ana Gil. I was like, oh my gosh, that's great. That's great. So she is a photographer, but she's also an entrepreneur in business, incredible businesswoman. Love this woman's mind. And she just creates systems and different formulas for photographers to try different things and something new. If you want to try different things depending on the stage of your photography business is in. And it's just a great book. What I have found, what I have learned from it is just that different formulas to do different things. For example, when I used to work in sales a long time ago in technical sales, I worked on commissions, and they will every year redesign this commission, and it was the same number, but sometimes it will make it so confusing that I'll be like, listen, I just don't even want to work here anymore. Like, just tell me the percentage that I'm gonna get so that I can sell. And she goes on explaining how that's true also for our customers. We just make it simple for them, because a confused mind says no. I mean, if you're confused, you're not making a decision, right? So she talks a lot about that stuff. It's a great book. Great book.
That's cool. Cool that they are an Ecamm user as well.
Yeah, for sure. When I saw that, I was like, oh, cool. Okay, yes, you can teach me a thing, I can teach you another. That's great.
Becky in the Amazon chat's just saying that she'd like to start streaming sometime. And I just mentioned in there, just dropped a thing in the chat that I always say that the best place to start is with a good mic if you're going to, you want to get your audio sorted, and then a Stream Deck, obviously. But I am still using actually at this stage, it's 11-year-old Canon. So that's the camera that I'm using. I have actually just got a ZV-E10 to add into the mix and a ZV-1 for my top down, but I haven't actually installed it all yet. But what's your advice for people who are starting out with, live streaming or covering live events, and like, you obviously came with a whole load of equipment, from your photography. So you had, a great camera and things like that. But what's always your advice to people starting out in terms of how to build things up? Because I always show the behind the scenes of people's studios, and it's easy to look at that and think like, oh, they've got all of this stuff and it's a cool setup. But what's your advice for people starting out?
Yeah, I mean, if you just started now, I'm pretty sure that if you said Becky.
Yes. Yep.
Becky has been reading or looking at videos and things like that. Probably, Becky, you have seen people say just start with what you have, and I do agree with that. So we all have a phone. We can start with our phones, and once you start with your phone, then you start wondering, can I do X, Y, and Z? Why doesn't my camera look like this? And if your camera looks like specific way that you don't want, for example, what people like the most is the blurry background and things in the back, right? That's great for aesthetic purposes, but your content can be good. I've seen tons of people, and I have watched content from people where they're using a phone and the content is valuable and I'm engaged watching it, right? So you can have your phone and have a nice setup, and you can go on with your if you're using an iPhone, with the same headphones that you're using, because you have to get started. Because what happens is, if you start thinking about, I need a microphone, I need a camera, I need a lens, I need cables, now I need lighting, by that time, sometimes you're like, you know what, I'm not doing a thing, right? But if you get started with what you have, and then you get the hang of it, and you're like, okay, you know what? I need this. I'm really liking this. I'm going to invest in this. And then you start building your arsenal like that. So I will say the first thing that you should get once you decide and you have your budget, the first thing you should get is a camera, lens, and lighting, right?
And
that's it.
The lighting is a big one as well.
Microphone.
Yeah. The lighting, I think, can really dramatically change things. So, you could have a really high quality camera, but with low, poor lighting, then you're not necessarily going to get a great image. Whereas actually lighting can really improve even, the iPhone camera, or even just a general webcam. I know someone who was using a Logitech Brio webcam for the longest time, and they had just great lighting, so you wouldn't have even known that it was a webcam, even though the Brio is a pretty good webcam as they go, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I was streaming with a webcam for, like, what was it, the 920, the Logitech 920?
C920. I've got one of those.
Yeah.
Over the shoulder shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think every live streamer has one of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
that I want to say. And I was streaming with that for a long time, and people thought that I had like all this, great equipment, and it was because I have this lights, and I will make my lights well. And then Ecamm Live, which is a software that we're both using right now, has a great camera effects that allows you to play around with your colors and to the saturation and the contrast, which will make your picture look a little bit better, even if you don't have like the highest end camera with great lighting, and then you can do some tweaks on it. It will make it look good. So yeah, I would say get started. Just go for it.
Cool stuff. Well, apparently she's already done TikTok live with a phone, so that's also one of the biggest hurdles. Is actually that thing of pressing the button to go live for the first time. I know that can be one of the biggest barriers, isn't it? Feeling like, oh, I've got to got to go live and there's people watching.
Good for you then with your TikToks. Good for you. What was it? What was it about? What's your TikTok? Tell us, Becky. Yeah. So how was it for you, Alec, when you first went live? Like what equipment did you have?
Yeah. So when I started my the channel, Take One Tech, 18 months ago when it was made last year, that wasn't so much of an issue because I'd done, public speaking and stuff before then. But the first time I actually did a real sort of live stream was actually on Facebook, probably 6 years ago now, more than 6 years ago. But that was really nerve-wracking, actually, the first time to actually press it, feeling like there could be, anybody watching, even though actually the only people who would have been watching would have been people who were in my sort of circle of friends anyway, because it was just on, Facebook into my, my circle of friends. But yeah, it was just a bit, it was a bit nerve-wracking, to be perfectly honest, the first time.
Yeah.
It's, but then you just do it and you realize, excuse me, you realize that, oh yeah, nobody actually cares anyway. If you, get a few words wrong here and there, it's weird.
We make this incredible stories about how people are just going to say X, Y, and Z about us and about whatever, and people are like, okay, whatever. And if they do say it, guess what? I mean, like, okay, you just move on. You continue doing your thing, and which is a whole another topic about just knowing what it is, knowing the value that you're going to bring forward, and being really true to that, because that's what's going to carry you through all of those moments when you're like, what, I really don't want to do this anymore, or I'm really tired, or I'm completely overwhelmed about all of this. All of that is going to, your values, your core value, and the reason why you're doing what you're doing will bring you back to basic, meaning back to your original state of, yes, this is the reason why I want to do this. I'm going to continue to do it. So yeah.
Another thing about Ecamm as well, Ecamm Live being the software that we're using, and the Ecamm Live community, that's a great place to, help to, if you're someone who's not used to going live, then being able to go live into a community full of people who are, on the same path and, are there to sort of help and give helpful feedback. That's always a really valuable thing, I think, for people starting out, is, doing something like that. Or Lauria's leader Live Every Day in August, where it's, there's a sort of structured program to it. I think things like that are great for people getting started.
Yeah, and don't forget Vlogmas. Vlogmas is coming up. Yeah, it's coming up. When is it? Thursday? Yeah, Thursday is December 1st. Yep. So it's coming up. And Vlogmas is you create something every day it's a video a day. They call it a video a day, and the Ecamm Live community, you can do video, or you can just do photo, or whatever creation you do that's going to get you to a goal that you want. So you do it every day for 4 weeks, and you get a chance to win an MV7 microphone, Shure microphone, if you participate for the entire month.
That's cool. Well, that's the mic I'm using. That was this and the Stream Deck were the first things that I bought when I was starting my YouTube channel. And I got the MV7 specifically because it's got a USB, so you can plug it straight into your computer. But then if you do get something like a Rodecaster further on down the line, then it's also got XLR which is a sort of a standard mic connection, so you can plug it into the Rodecaster or something else. So it's sort of future-proofed in that respect. So I really love this mic.
Yeah, that is a nice little mic. And I'm telling you, all these things, like when I first started, I was like, they're like, oh, XLR mic, USB mic. And I'm like, oh my God, like why? Like, can you just give me a mic that
Yeah.
works with my computer? Like it really, and that USB mic was one of the first mics I tried. And those are the things. So would you say, Alec, for someone who's starting out to start with that flexibility?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
The USB.
it means that you're not having to think, oh, I've got to buy this, I've got to buy some sort of external interface. It's also something else that you've got to figure out. Whereas, a USB mic that plugs straight into the computer, if you're going to use it with streaming software on your computer, then it makes a lot of sense to me to limit the new gear that you need to buy and learn from the outset.
Yeah. Yeah. And would you say, because you try both, would you say that it sounds different going XLR and going USB?
I don't know. You can probably do a bit more tweaking with the Rodecaster, obviously, because it's got more advanced sort of, or not advanced, but more extensive different processing that you can apply to it. But there again, the Shure Motive app, you can do a lot of changes to the sound of it. But then you can also use, there's free software that you can use for the Mac that you could then use to do further processing on there. So it's just a case of, which one you want to go for. But certainly starting out with USB makes a lot of sense to me.
Agreed.
Right. Well, I want to be conscious of your time, and I could chat with you for hours, but we are running over past the top of the hour, so I don't want to keep you too long. But perhaps you can talk a little bit about just where people can find you and what you've got coming up. I've obviously left a link to all of the places in the description for those watching on the replay or listening to the podcast. But what's the easiest way for people to get in touch with you? Got your website.
So the easiest way, if you look at that,
that's a great photo.
My website is thank you. That's AGIL photography.com. And that you can find me there to check out photography. If you are around this area, you can go ahead and contact me. I love headshots and I'm really good at it as well. If you are looking for video content, creation, ideas, organization, and things like that in terms of producing, whether you want to produce your own show or you have a show that you're producing for somebody else, you can also contact me and my information will be there as well. Or you can send me an email at anagilstudios.com. So that's ANA at ANAGILstudios.com. And we can have a conversation. Those are all my great pictures for branding and things like that. So, and then also, if you do have questions about photography itself, you can also contact me for that. And we can work out a system for you for photography, as well as it can be pricing. It can be what genre of photographers you would like to concentrate on and things like that for consultation. And if you would like to find us in the Ecamm Live community, you can find us every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is where we talk about live streaming trends, things that are happening that are related to the live streamers. And we also show you new designs and things like that. And we tell you what is going on in the world of Ecamm Live. That's that. And the last place you can find us is Building Blocks. And that is where we teach you how to create incredible designs using only Ecamm Live text overlays.
Cool. Well, as
I covered it all, right? Like
I think you got it nailed. I've left links to all of that in the description, and also I'll leave a link through to your gear page as well, where you list all of the different stuff that you use in the studio and in the field as well. I'll leave a link to that down there as well. But thank you so much for coming and chatting today. It's been a long overdue for the amount of time we've known each other. So great to actually finally speak face to face, as it were.
Yeah, right. I agree. We did. Like, I bet you we see each other and we just be like, "Hey, what's up, Alec?" Just like we greeted each other today.
Yeah,
we're like,
yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, it was like, hey, did we speak? Yeah, I don't think we did. But
All right.
Cool
So
stuff.
yes, Alec, thank you so much. And it's day for you. So have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for watching and listening. If you are listening to the podcast, you may want to come and check out the video. So I've left a link to the video in the description of the podcast to check out the sort of behind the scenes and see Anna's setup there. Thanks so much for watching. I will be back next week with another great guest and another great conversation. So I'll see you next time.